Well, this video certainly got more attention than I thought it would. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. I mean, this is a subject matter that a lot of people are passionate about, and I mean really passionate about, which is understandable. I acknowledge in the video that Ralph Bakshi himself was a legendary animator, and this is the version of the Lord of the Rings that the boomer generation grew up with. But, I don't know. Isn't your adult years supposed to be the time in your life where you're more critical about the stuff you were exposed to as a child? To be frank, a lot of the stuff I complain about were problems that critics and fans of the book even back then had issues with the weird rotoscoping and the script losing a lot of the charming character of the original book. However, one interesting thing to come out of this was that about a year after I finished my 3-part series, the nostalgia critic himself made a video defending this movie, and it may or may not have been an underhanded response to my video? Don't quote me on this since he didn't call me out by name, but I noticed a lot of striking similarities between Tamra's character and the on-screen character that I portrayed in my video. I'm not butthurt or anything, I just find it weird that a grown man that's about to turn 40 thinks that this is a good comeback.
Oh yeah, well, Peter Jackson took years to film his masterpieces, and you lazily told people to draw. I appreciate where the real talent is at.
Oh, you're so right! That's why I mailed you a present for being so smart!
Oh, so you have. Well, how kind of you to kindly be so kind. Ah!
How dare you call me lazy, you brainless babbling bimbo!
But you know what? I still haven't seen the other 2 animated films based on Tolkien's work. And every once in a while I'll get a comment saying that those films are actually good. Well, at least The Hobbit. I actually haven't seen that much praise for this other film. And these movies were made by completely different animators, so it'll basically be like watching a totally different film. Maybe there is a good movie stuck in these old Lord of the Rings cartoons.
Get in, loser. We're trashing another boomer movie.
Ryan, kill yourself!
Rankin Bass's The Hobbit is fucking terrible. Never before have I seen such a bare-bones adaptation of a beloved novel, with none of the pizzazz that would make it worth watching on a screen. A much better name for this movie would be Spark Notes the Motion Picture. If you were to show this movie to someone with no knowledge of Tolkien at a time before the Peter Jackson trilogy, and told them that this was based on one of the greatest novels ever written, they'd probably say, "What? Really? This? I mean, it was okay, I guess, but really?" Now, since I gave a big history lesson on Ralph Bakshi in my last Lord of the Rings video, I think it's only fair that I do the same for the people who made this film, to give you a better understanding as to why this thing turned out the way it did. For those of you that don't know, this film was made by a television company by the name of Rankin Bass Entertainment, founded by animator Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass. This company's claim to fame was making those made-for-TV animated Christmas specials that you see playing every year. Movies like Rudolph, Frosty the Snowman, The Year Without a Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, and so on. These films were integral for forming a lot of people's childhoods. So I'm probably gonna break a few hearts by saying this, but the general consensus among animation enthusiasts seems to be that these films have aged horribly, and are basically the cinematic equivalent to ugly sweaters, i.e., surviving purely through tradition rather than quality. Because this was made for TV animation in the 60s and 70s, these films were made super cheap. As a result, the pacing in these stories suffer greatly. The animation, whether it's hand-drawn or stop-motion, feels either stilted or janky. And some of these movies have flaws that would be straight up inexcusable in other films. Like this guy's voice changing for only one specific scene.
Why weren't you at elf practice? You don't like to make toys? What? All out for elf practice!
Okay, Santa. Now let's try out the new elf song I wrote. And remember, it's for Santa. And Duana.
Now, admittedly, a part of me still finds enjoyment in Rudolph. And Santa Claus is Coming to Town was a pretty decent origin story. Klaus is way better though. But with these other films, it almost feels like they were working with a first draft script.
Because when the thermometer gets all reddish, the temperature goes up. And when the temperature goes up, I start to melt. And when I start to melt, I get all wishy-washy.
Then you've got to go someplace where you'll never melt.
The only place I'd never melt is the North Pole.
Then we've got to get you there.
Yeah! We'll take you downtown to the railroad station.
I think my favorite what the fuck moment in these movies is in The Year Without a Santa Claus, where the kid says that he doesn't believe in Santa anymore, so then everyone at the dinner table dedicates an entire song to shoving Santa down the kid's throat as much as humanly possible.
So you're too old for Santa Claus, he said with a smile, then you're too old for all the things that make a life worthwhile.
Ugh, give the kid a break already, he's a skeptic, that's a good thing. So then you hear the guys who made these movies are responsible for adapting the works of J.R.R. Tolkien onto animation, and it's like... What? I guess it made sense to them at the time. I mean, if I was an animator working on nothing but Christmas films, I'd get pretty fucking tired of it after a while. Plus, although it takes place in the same universe as The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit is a much different book in terms of length and tone. As opposed to the wide, epic scale of The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit was meant to be a children's book. But a sophisticated children's book with battles and dragons and death and such. So the people at Rankin were probably just like, yeah, okay, how hard could it be? We were able to work in a snow monster in a movie about Rudolph. Same shit, right? So the movie begins with the famous first quote from the book.
In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit.
And not even a minute into the film and the movie repeats itself.
There, in a hole in the ground, lived a hobbit. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. There, in a hole in the ground, lived a hobbit. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. There, in a hole in the ground, lived a hobbit.
Yeah, you see what I mean by first draft script? So we see Bilbo for the first time and... I don't know, is it just me or does this guy look a lot closer to a garden gnome than anything you'd imagine for the book?
Bilbo Baggins?
Yes?
I am looking to hire a burglar.
Burglar? I'm afraid you've come to the wrong place.
You mean you do not wish to share a grand adventure?
Dear me, no. We hobbits are plain quiet folk. Adventures make one late for dinner.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Introduce the great and powerful wizard with someone making the noise that kids make when they're playing guns. So as you can see, the movie is already cutting essential details from the book, such as Gandalf knowing of the Baggins and the Tooks, and knowing Bilbo when he was a kid. Here it just seems like Gandalf picked Bilbo out of the blue just because. They even cut out the part where Gandalf overanalyzes the saying good morning, which, okay, maybe that's not an essential part of the book, but come on. That was a fun part of the book, and it gave Gandalf some character.
Good morning.
What do you mean? Do you mean to wish me a good morning, or do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not? Or perhaps you mean to say that you feel good on this particular morning? Or are you simply stating that this is a morning to be good on?
Also, is it just me, or does Gandalf look a lot like a sexual predator in this close-up shot?
I got books that I read, sir. Yeah, it's called Hand Jobs. It deals with younger, older, father, son.
Father, son?
Yes.
You're talking about fathers having sex with their son?
It's a book that I read, and I fantasize.
The dwarves then come out of nowhere and... Oh god, ew! This is what the dwarves look like? I mean, I get that these dwarves are old in the book, and I'd rather have something like this than some condescending design that you see in the Jackson version. But something about the way their wrinkles are drawn remind me of either chewed bubblegum or some dude's scrotum. And what's with the garden gnome designs? I know I'm repeating myself, but every time I see these people, I think of something Grandma would put in her front yard, and it takes me out of the film every time. Okay, so one of the points I'm trying to make in my video on the animated Hobbit movie is how the character designs look a lot closer to garden gnomes than anything you'd imagine from the book. So I looked up garden gnomes on Google Images. Look at this shit show. What the fuck? Do old people really find this shit funny? What the fuck? Oh my god. Okay. This is so... What the fuck? What's with old people and naked garden gnomes? I don't get it. Like, the fuck? Oh god. What the fuck? Oh. You gotta be kidding me. So much like Rankin Bass's previous works, this movie is also a musical. So far it's just songs that are lifted from the book, and it doesn't sound too bad here.
Blunt the knives and bend the forks. Smash the bottles, burn the corks. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. So carefully with the plates.
And it's a lot more fitting in this version with the tone of the film than in the Jackson version where you're just scratching your head thinking, wait, this is a musical now? I mean, it's a fun scene otherwise, but it just feels out of place with the rest of the film. So then they have dinner and talk about Smaug, the dragon, and how he messed things up at the dwarves' home and how they have to take back their gold.
Curses to the dragon! Curses to Smaug! He killed our men and stole our gold.
Curses to the dragon Smaug!
Alright, since I'm bored, I think it's about time we talk about the animation. I already talked about the weird character designs a bit, and we'll go into more detail later as we're introduced to more characters, but right now I want to talk about the way these people move. Now you might have noticed this already, but the characters move in a way that is just as stilted as the other films these people have made, such as Frosty. This is why Rankin Bass films are so hard to pay attention to, unless you grew up watching their stuff. Rather than move in a way that feels fluid and natural, the characters strike a pose, pause, move their lips, strike another pose, pause, move their lips again. And that's every dialogue scene in the whole movie. It is such a boring way to present your characters. And I get it, TV animation was extremely low budget back then, and it kind of still is now, even with all the progress we've made. But you know what? That's why giving these people this story to tell was a bad idea. It's one thing to give this kind of unengaging movement to a dumb Christmas special, but to do this to the most dense and detailed fantasy world ever written? Yeah, it's kind of insulting to Tolkien's work. Whether or not it's better or worse than the animation in Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings is all up for debate, but at least that movie was trying to break new ground. At least it was trying to portray the characters of Middle-earth in a way that's more dignified. The key word being try. Oh, you know that thing I said about the songs being ripped from the book? Yeah, that ends here.
The greatest adventure is there if you're bold. Let go of the moment that life makes you whole.
Wait a minute. Is that the fucking Lemmingwinks song?
A great adventure is waiting for you ahead. Hurry onward, Lemmywinks, or you will soon be dead. The journey before you may be long and filled with woe, but you must escape the gay man's ass so your tale can be told.
Never know passion, will never know pain. Who sits by the window will one day see rain.
The road ahead is filled with danger and fright, but push onward, Lemmywinks, with all of your might.
Holy shit! South Park totally parodied this song for the Lemmywinks episode. That's so funny. So the journey begins and they start walking around a bit and then they find some trolls.
What have trolls to do with burgling? We could use some of that meat they're cooking.
Bilbo then tries to pickpocket one of the trolls and gets caught along with the dwarves. Then Gandalf appears to raise the sun and turn the trolls into stone. And if you thought my description of this scene was rushed with no excitement or enthusiasm whatsoever, then congratulations, you have figured out the biggest problem with this movie. There is no tension, suspense, or any kind of pacing needed to make a scene like this effective. Bilbo just gets caught right away and Gandalf comes in shortly after. Combine that with the unenthusiastic music, and what you get is an underwhelming version of one of the most exciting parts of the book.
Eats to his own boys. There's plenty for all. I likes mine raw.
God, even watching Ian Holm just talk about the scene was more exciting than this.
mercy of 3 monstrous trolls. And they were all arguing amongst themselves about how they were going to cook us, whether it be turned on a spit or whether they should sit on us one by one and squash us into jelly. Oh, they spent so much time arguing the withertooths and the wyfords that the sun's first light crept over the top of the trees and turned them all to stone.
So then they go into the troll cave to find some weapons.
I see you've also claimed a sword.
Yes, just a dagger, actually. But for one of my size, it suffices.
The greatest adventure is
fucking song.
And it's covered by a door made to look exactly like the side of the mountain. Here is the key. Keep it safe.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Huh?
So then they go off on their journey some more and take a pit stop at this random hut in the middle of nowhere.
Behold at last, Rivendell.
Wait, that's supposed to be Rivendell? Really?
The hidden valley of the elves.
What, can they all fit in that little hut? The fuck? Well, the only elf we ever see is Elrond, who, to this movie's credit, looks a lot closer to what I imagine the elves in this universe look like, as opposed to regular-ass looking Elrond and fetal alcohol syndrome Legolas from Ralph Bakshi's version.
Well, first of all, they're not troll make. They must have been stolen. They were made for the Goblin Wars. This sword, Thorin, the rune's name, Orcrist, the Goblin Cleaver.
Jesus Christ, the sound mixing in this scene is awful! We've got the orchestral score, this random-ass song, and the dialogue all playing at the same time, fighting to get our attention. It's so disorienting. God, and I thought Christopher Nolan sucked at sound mixing.
Yes, indeed. There are moon letters here. See?
So after learning about the moon letters, they continue on with their journey and take a rest in this cave. Wait, why are we seeing this scene again? The hell? Does this movie seriously have so little going on that they can't give Bilbo something more interesting to dream about? Just more of the same shit that we saw before? So then this thing opens and we get to the chapter of the book that involves the goblins.
Goblins squawk and goblins beat, goblins laugh and goblins bleat. Hammer, hammer, whip and hammer, oh!
Yeah, one pattern that I noticed in this movie is that every song that involves lyrics that Tolkien wrote himself is kind of a banger. Makes me wonder why all of the songs in this movie couldn't just be songs from the book. There's plenty of them, and we don't need this annoying, repetitive crap.
The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. To measure the meaning can make you delay.
Now, although the song in this scene is quite decent, I can't say the same about the visuals that accompany it. A lot of it is just the same repetitive imagery, and there's not even any background image to make this scene look finished. Oh, that's because it's a dark cave. Well, okay, then what's lighting up these characters? I don't see any torches in the background or any characters carrying a light source. So Thorin's company gets dragged to the Goblin King, and then this happens.
This sword is named Orcrist, the Goblin Cleaver.
Why is this reaction so funny to me?
The Goblin Cleaver.
So much like the troll scene, there is absolutely no time for tension between the dwarves being captured and Gandalf saving them. So as the gang start to run away, Bilbo gets knocked on his ass and gets separated from the group.
Bilbo! He's gone!
What's going on? Oh yeah, I forgot this was a made-for-TV movie. So then we get to what is undoubtedly the most famous chapter in the book, Riddles in the Dark. This is the moment where we are officially introduced to Gollum. Everyone knows this character, and everyone has done shitty impressions of him.
Must protect my precious so Max never has to chase it down again.
What makes this character so iconic in both film and literature is what he represents. Gollum is the physical and mental embodiment of addiction in its deepest form. A man who will do anything and everything to be with his precious ring, stoop to any low, even after the ring decayed him to his final form. He's a frog in the movie. The thing I hate the most about this character design is just how overkill it is. With every other character design, you could at least tell that there was a point in time in his life where he was normal before he was decayed into nothingness. But here, he might as well have been born this way. I can believe that the ring can make you skinny as hell and make you lose teeth, but can it also stretch your neck, flatten your face, and raise up your ears? I don't know, that just seems really over the top.
But perhaps we sits here and chats with its Bitsy, my precious. It likes riddles?
Okay, the voice actor playing Gollum is trying way too hard. I can't even understand what he's saying. Oh god. This is gonna make the riddle scene really hard to watch, isn't it?
Voiceless, it cries, wingless, flutters, toothless, bites, mouthless, mutters.
So because the animators can't portray this scene in a way that's more interesting than just Bilbo and Gollum sitting down and talking, one of the riddles is told in song by the wind, I guess?
It cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelled.
Kind of a random way to add pizzazz to the scene, but whatever.
This thing, all things, devours, birds, beasts, trees, flowers, knows I am.
God, who listened to this voice and said to themselves, oh yeah, that's a cool and creepy voice. People are gonna get a kick out of that. It's not gonna get annoying after a while. So I'm sure you know where this goes from here. Bilbo asks what he's got in his pocket, Gollum screws off to find his ring, but it turns out that Bilbo has his ring. Now, as much as I dog on the Hobbit trilogy for being way too dragged out and being vastly inferior to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, one thing those movies did absolutely right was the riddles in the Dark chapter. Not only are the performances from Martin Freeman and Andy Serkis top-notch, Gollum's realization of where his ring is just as frightening as it was in the book.
What has it come to? It's nasty little pockets.
But here, Gollum just explains everything to the audience as if we're too dumb to figure this out ourselves. Which is always a good trope in movies, am I right?
He wears it before, and he drops it on the shore. Curse it! Curse the Baggins! He's found it! My ring!
My, he does carry on.
Really? That's your reaction to the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life? Well, if Bilbo himself isn't scared of Gollum, then why should I be scared of him? Oh, and if you think that's rich, wait until you see his reaction to the ring turning him invisible.
The ring? Yes, most definitely.
Yeah, no shock or amazement or anything, just...
How convenient.
You can't make this shit up. You know what? Why should I care about anything in this movie if the main character doesn't seem to care? That's it. Video over. Goodbye. Alright, I'll keep going. So then Bilbo uses the ring to escape from Gollum's cave.
It's a pity Bilbo didn't kill him when he had the chance.
Pity? It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand.
Ta-ta!
And then Bilbo reunites with Thorin's company.
Well, the art of burgling is really, the art of being unobtrusive.
Your story, Bilbo, has the ring of truth. Yes, it rings true.
Wait a minute. Was that pun in the book? Hold on, let me check. Let's see. I can make fun of it. Fucking cringe. So then they continue on with their journey as they get caught up by the goblins.
The war with the goblins.
What? I can't hear you over the bad sound mixing!
Bake and toast them, fry and roast them till beards blaze and eyes glaze, till hair swells and skins crack, fat melts and bones black in cinders lie.
Okay, I'm not asking for Hans Zimmer here, but can we get some music that builds some excitement for this scene and not this annoying, bouncy bullshit? Alright, so then they get saved by the eagles and get dropped off at the forest of Mirkwood.
You speak as if you weren't going with us.
I'm not. I have pressing business away south. I am already late because of bothering with you people.
In other words, he got bored of this movie and didn't want to be in it anymore. So then they start traveling through Mirkwood. There's not a whole lot I can say right here, except for this one part where these butterflies are flying in place and not actually moving around. And then the background starts moving in the scene to try to give the illusion that the butterflies are moving, which clearly isn't working because I can notice it.
The days are terrible, and the nights are impossible.
Wait, since when was Bilbo the narrator? I thought Gandalf was narrating this story.
In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit.
I awoke the next morning to a hideous surprise.
Ah! Okay, if I saw a spider with a beard, I'd be pretty freaked out too. So then Bilbo stabs the spider with Sting, but because we can't show someone getting stabbed, even if it's just a spider, we see this shit. So Bilbo frees the dwarves and runs away from the spiders, and oh my god, you can see the white outlines on the spiders. After running a bit, Bilbo decides to fight off the remaining spiders. Now, here's what confuses me about Sting in this movie. From what I understand, this sword is supposed to light up when orcs are nearby, right? Well, not a single orc is to be found in this scene, and not only that, I don't recall any part of the book where Sting was used as some sort of light show.
I joined my companions at the clearing of the Wood-elves, but when I found them, I was in for another surprise.
Oh god! Those are the Wood-elves? I mean, I get trying to be distinct from the other elves, but they look a lot closer to what Gollum should have looked like in this movie. The book describes these elves as beautiful and majestic, but just looking at these things just makes me want to puke.
We'd come all the way through, only to end up as prisoners.
Oh my god, Bilbo, no!
Why did you dwarfs try to attack? No attack. We came to beg.
Whoa, did you guys catch that? They straight up cut off this guy's sentence in the editing room.
Why did you dwarfs try to attack? No attack.
Instead, they became the enemy, and we were their prisoners.
You know, I really hate narration that just points out the obvious and never seems to shut up. I'll go into more detail on how that can ruin a movie when I talk about the Miramax cut of The Thief and the Cobbler, but for now, all I'm gonna say is that Bilbo never points out anything that we can't already observe with our own eyes.
Now, Wood-elves enjoy their wine, and the barrels were soon drained.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Okay, so Bilbo takes the key and sneaks the dwarves into the barrels and they drift onto Lake Town.
I am Bard the Guardsman. We are honored by your presence.
We were fed, fattened, given supplies, and 2 weeks later found us nearing the end of our journey.
Oh, thank God. It's almost over. So they climb up the mountain, use the key to open this thing up, yada yada yada.
You are the burglar. Go down and burgle something.
Very well.
Oh cool, Bilbo's about to confront the dragon. Maybe we should have some exciting music to build up the tension and suspense.
Measure the meaning can make you delay.
Oh. Okay. So I got no complaints about Smaug's character design. I mean, it's kind of hard to screw up a dragon's character design. The voice, on the other hand?
Well, thief, I smell you, feel your air, and I hear your breath.
Sounds really fucking bored. Yep, nothing says intimidation like sounding like you'd rather be anywhere but a sound studio. Yeah, just take my treasure, I don't really care. Look, I never really understood this token shit. Can I go home now? So after a long conversation about how awesome Smaug is and his weak point being on his scales, Bilbo does something really dumb.
Sorry you could not find me, but a fine burglar takes expert catching.
Yeah! What did you think was gonna happen, idiot? You should have kept the ring on.
What did you burgle?
This.
The fuck, Bilbo? All that gold in there and you only brought out that damn cup? Pretty sure the dwarves wanted more than just something to eat soup out of. Have you ever tried waking someone up when they're hungover? Yeah, imagine that, but in slow motion. That's basically what Smaug's roar sounds like.
You have seen Smaug. You know his vulnerable spot. Go now to Lake Town.
So then Bilbo sends the bird to tell the people of Lake Town about Smaug's weakness.
This breeze is strangely warm for autumn.
What? Just pick somewhere to look, you weirdo. So then Smaug attacks the village and the bird informs Bard about the dragon's weak point.
You speak? Eh?
And you attack its weak point for massive damage.
Black Arrow, you've never failed me, and I've always recovered you. I had you from my father and he from of old.
What? I can't hear you over the bad sound mixing. If you think it's strange that the main villain was taken down by some random guy and not one of the main characters, well, it's accurate to the book, so you have no right to complain about it. No, but seriously, I love Tolkien's writing as much as the next person, but I always found it strange that the dragon was killed by someone that we only knew briefly in the previous chapter. To Peter Jackson's credit, they did try to give this guy a personality, although I can't really remember what that personality was aside from another Aragorn. So the dragon is defeated and all the dwarves are celebrating, but the movie is not over yet. We still got the Battle of the Five Armies to deal with. This was sparked by a disagreement on how to split the gold.
So you brought two armies to take it, eh?
I brought one army.
The other is mine.
Jesus fucking Christ. You know that boomer meme of the guy made out of vegetables that says, "This is what you look like when you turn vegan"? That's what this dude looks like.
My people have suffered greatly from the worm through the years. We demand retribution.
This is ridiculous.
So then the three get prepared to fight, but then get interrupted by Gandalf.
An army of goblins with claim to the treasure comes from the north. Behold!
We must join our forces against this common scourge.
And my men and all their weapons are as one with yours. Together!
Awesome! Is this going to be as exciting as Helm's Deep? Well, I'm not really seeing anyone getting stabbed. In fact, this is our big shot of the battle, and it's just smoke clouds and fleas.
A battle of 4 armies. 1, 2, 3, yes, 4.
Gee, thanks, Sesame Street dialogue. Ooh, the eagles are coming! Is shit going to get real now? Oh no, it's just more of the same. Well, I guess it's better than stretching it out as an entire movie. Got him.
Bombo, you're hurt.
I still live. And you?
A slight wound, crack on the head. Out for hours.
You liar, you were just sitting in the corner the entire time. So then we get to the part where Thorin is wounded in battle. And it's here that I realize that I don't know anything about Thorin's character, like, at all. I remember Peter Jackson saying that he dreaded the thought of making a movie based on The Hobbit because of how many dwarves there were on the main journey. But all he really needed to do was pay attention to Thorin. And yeah, Jackson just resorted to making him into an Aragorn clone, but even that was better than nothing. So I can't really care when this dude bites the dust. Alright, so Thorin dies and we finally get to the part where Bilbo goes home.
Place your souvenir ring on your mantle. Publish your story, which you believe has come to its end.
What do you mean, believe it has come to an end? It has, hasn't it?
If you really understood that ring, someday members of your family not yet born will, then you'd realize that this story has not ended, but is only beginning.
What the fuck, Gandalf? If you understood that ring, you wouldn't be saying that with such enthusiasm. You make it sound like Frodo's adventure is gonna be all fun and games and shit.
Then you'd realize that this story has not ended, but is only beginning.
So yeah, that was Rankin Bass's The Hobbit. As much as I didn't care for Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, there were points during that film where I got a genuine sense of passion for Tolkien's work. Also, the film was ambitious. Super, super ambitious. On top of that, the badness of that film was really unique. Every flaw with that film seemed totally different from the previous scene, and as a result, the movie gave me a lot to talk about. And for the most part, I had fun picking it apart. This movie was just a bore. If there was any passion or ambition behind this film, it definitely didn't translate well to the final product. I actually considered abandoning this project altogether because of how much this movie was boring me, and how few and far in between the so bad it's funny moments were. But I guess one question remains. Is this movie any better or worse than the Peter Jackson Hobbit trilogy?
The answer is yes and no.
None of these films are good adaptations, or really good movies for that matter, so it's kind of a pick your poison kind of situation. Do you go with a straightforward adaptation, with a tone that's a little bit closer to the book, but also has terrible animation, ugly character designs, and annoying music? Or do you go with the movies that are a lot more well-crafted, with top-notch cast of actors, moments here and there that capture the charm and spirit of Tolkien's writing, but also goes completely off the rails and misses the point of The Hobbit entirely? Personally, I have to go with the Jackson trilogy. Like I said, these aren't good movies, but they have a lot of redeemable qualities to them. And I do throw them on every once in a blue moon, because the moments in it that are good are really freaking good.
See, that's where I belong. That's home. And that's why I came back, because you don't have one. A home. It was taken from you. But I will help you take it back if I can.
This movie just felt so hollow. I don't know how else to describe it. Man, it's a shame that we're never gonna get a well-crafted Hobbit movie that actually focuses on what the book is about. Oh wait, Maple Films created this really awesome fan edit of the Hobbit trilogy that cuts all 3 movies down to just one 4.5-hour movie with an intermission in the middle. And let me tell you, it is a much, much better viewing experience. There's obviously some flaws with the film that can't be erased, like bad character designs of some of the dwarves, but overall the movie feels a lot more focused, and it just feels like a good adaptation of the book. Not a great adaptation or a holy fucking shit, this is one of the best movies ever made kind of experience. Just a good, fun little movie. So yeah, I didn't really care for Rankin Bass's The Hobbit, but I could see why they thought they could take on this project. I mean, it was a children's book, and it would be dumb to over-epicify a children's book and make 3 movies out of it. That'd be like trying to make a children's movie out of one of the Lord of the Rings books. So why the fuck was this movie made?